The Montreal Canadiens and Buffalo Sabres are tied at 1 through the first two games of the Eastern Conference semifinals matchup. So I wanted to talk about the first two games and kind of talk about some of the factors that I was going to talk about in a series preview video, but I just didn't have time to get to that. So Montreal, of course, coming off that hard-fought 7-game series against Tampa, and they're facing an opponent who is coming off a 6-game first-round series against Boston, their first playoff series win in 15 years. A very different team from a stylistic standpoint compared to Tampa Bay. Buffalo is fast. They have a heavy forecheck. They have a lot of mobile, active defensemen. They're a very offensively gifted team. Tons of forward depth. When you compare that to Tampa, Tampa is definitely more top-heavy, and they play a much slower pace, I feel. So I thought kind of coming into this series that Buffalo would start off strong, play with that pace that they've been playing with all season, and Montreal might struggle to start just because they're used to 7 straight games of hard-fought hockey with zero space on the ice. However, I felt that Montreal would definitely adjust, and as the series goes on further, I think that they'll be the better team. Entering Game 1, some things to note. Noah Ostlund was injured for Buffalo, and we're not sure when he's going to be back. He was unbelievable for them in the games he played in the first round, I felt. Also, Sam Carrick, he could be returning here in the next few games. And for Montreal, Joe Veleno came in for Brendan Gallagher, which made sense considering he definitely has more speed than Gallagher. In Game 1, Buffalo moves the puck out to center. Lane Hutson, he falls down, and it creates a 3-on-1. Beautiful pass by Benson, backdoor, and Josh Doan buries it. We'll talk a little bit more about this line later, but if Buffalo wants to beat Montreal, they need some of their other players to start playing like Doan and Benson do. Buffalo had a couple power plays in the first period, and they win a loose puck, and Ryan McLeod buries it into the empty cage. The Sabres' power play has been brutal these playoffs, so it's important to get that going if they want to win this series. Eventually, the Habs head to the power play. Some nice movement, and it ends up being Demidov sliding it down low for Slafkovsky. He walks out and feeds it backdoor for Nick Suzuki, and Montreal's on the board for the first time this series. Eventually, in the second period, the Sabres transition once again. Montreal's D with a poor gap there, and Jordan Greenway ends up sniping one off the rush. Not sure if Dobej was screened by Carrier. It was hard to tell. 9 minutes into the period, Byram on the power play walks in and rips one by Dobej. Beautiful screen by Josh Doan, and the Sabres pretty much put this one out of reach. However, Montreal would get one more goal as Tage Thompson turns it over at center ice to Bolduc, and Kirby Dach, with a heroic effort, tries to get it over to Bolduc. It hits the pad of Lyon, but the rebound's available, and while falling, he backhand chips it over Lyon. In the third period, Buffalo shut it down. Despite getting outshot 11-1, they managed to hold on and win the first game of this series. Looking at some of the numbers here, shots were 17-12, Montreal at 5-on-5. However, Buffalo did win the expected goals battle, and Montreal, it was really the third period that they got all of their chances. And so in Game 2, Montreal has a hot start this time. Off the cycle, Hudson gets it over to Goalie, who sends it on goal, and it's Alex Newhook deflecting it into the net. And eventually, a couple minutes later, Phil Deneau wins a face-off in the offensive zone. Mike Matheson gets it at the point, sends it on, and he beats Lyon to make it 2-0. Now, I want to point this out because this is exactly the difference between a team like Tampa Bay and Buffalo. Buffalo is so much more passive in the defensive zone, I find. And all season long, Montreal loves to get their defensemen active in the offensive zone. And they made the adjustment from Game 1 to 2. You have the defensemen walking in, taking shots. And the other important part to that is having the net front ability. Newhook on the first goal with the flyby tip. Josh Anderson net front on the second goal. Really the biggest difference between Games 1 and 2, I felt. I think this shot chart's a really nice visual to kind of see the difference. So if Montreal is going to win this series, this is something they need to repeat. In the second period, right after a penalty kill expired, Evans sends it over to Newhook, who just outworks Dahlin here, gets to the net, and buries the feed backdoor, his second of the game. Eventually, late stages of the second period, and it's just a dogged shift by Zach Benson. He wins a battle against Dobson and Hudson, creates a chance for Dahlin, and eventually he's rewarded for going to the net and finishing off a backdoor feed to put the Sabres on the board. And although he's so annoying to play against, this is why I love Zach Benson as a player. He's just such a dog out there, and he also has some really nice skill with his playmaking ability. And this has kind of been a theme for the Canadiens that I really do not like, and it's the fact that in the late stages of a period, sometimes they kind of go to sleep and allow the other team to build momentum heading into intermission. However, in the third period, Tage Thompson blows a tire, generates a 2-on-1 for the Canadiens, and it's Alex Carrier sniping a bar down off the rush. Not something you see every day, but the Canadiens would hold on. Suzuki puts home the empty netter, and they take this game 5-1 to even up the series at 1, heading back to Montreal. Montreal really dominated this game, expected goals nearly 3-1, and like I show with the shot chart, just tons of net front chances. And shout out to Jakob Dobesh for a solid performance. He's 4-0 when coming off a loss in these playoffs with a .946 save percentage. Going forward now, how is Montreal going to defeat Buffalo in this series? It's kind of funny because I think these teams are actually very similar when it comes to how they play. They both thrive on the forecheck and like to have constant movement in the offensive zone. So the biggest factors: disrupt the neutral zone. In Game 1, Buffalo had multiple goals off the rush, and I thought Montreal did a way better job in Game 2 of having active sticks there, better gap control from the defensemen, better support from the forwards coming back, and then defensive zone puck support. Montreal plays man-on-man down low and zone coverage up high. So if they lose a battle down low, they need to have layers of support. That way they don't allow Buffalo to just get chance after chance coming off the wall. And that's why guys like Nick Suzuki and Philip Deneau are so important to help out the D in the defensive zone. And the next here, net front / cycle game. Montreal, I think, has always had a strong cycle game, but it's having that constant net front presence, burying rebounds, screening the goalie. They struggled with that in the regular season. I felt they didn't have it consistently enough, which is why, I was concerned heading into the playoffs. But in Game 2, that's what you saw from this team, and it led to their most dominant game of the playoffs. And lastly, the face-off advantage. Montreal won 57% of the draws in Game 1, 63% in Game 2. They win a ton in the defensive zone. Suzuki, Evans, and Deneau are all fantastic defensive zone face-off winners. And in the offensive zone too, look at that second goal by Mike Matheson, the eventual game winner. It comes off Philip Deneau winning back-to-back face-offs and establishing offensive zone possession. Overall, I'm very confident with this Montreal team through the first 9 games of the playoffs. I think we've seen tremendous improvement. They're playing a more playoff-style game. The depth has been fantastic, which was an area of concern heading into the playoffs. And with that being said, thank you for watching this video. Let me know your thoughts down below. Who do you think is going to win this series, Montreal or Buffalo? It's going to be an amazing game tonight, Game 3 at the Bell Center. The fans are going to be electric. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.